The draft starts at 7 with the Las Vegas Raiders. I feel pretty solid about what's going to happen in the top 6. Bryce Young at 1, Tyree Wilson and Will Anderson in some combination at 2 and 3, Will Levis to the Colts at 4, Jalen Carter at 5, Devin Witherspoon at 6. The Raiders come on the board at 7, and I'm not going to lie, they could go a slew of ways. The betting market seemed to think that it will be the way I'm going, but I'd be remiss if I didn't point out, watch out for Paris Johnson. He has skyrocketed through this process, and there is a possibility that that pick at 7 will be him to the Raiders. That's not the way I go. At number 7, Christian Gonzalez, cornerback out of Oregon. Height, weight, speed monster. Just it came into the combine, ran a 4.38 at 6'1", a buck 97. Only had the one great year. And I really feel like that's because we saw him at Oregon, whereas we didn't see him at Colorado because that school is so bad. And it was just so easy to avoid him. Really explosive, press man, can play off, can really do practically anything. Just has to get better at challenging the catch. He's really good in coverage, but he didn't necessarily always show the anticipation to make the big play. Just really good at defending the pass. I think would be a very solid pick for the Raiders at number 7. I don't think they're taking a quarterback because Josh McDaniels has 1 foot in the grave and 1 foot on a banana peel. And I don't think Mark Davis is going to give him the platitude to make that pick for the long-term future of the Las Vegas Raiders. Next, at number 38, a guy that I know they've had in the building, they have some interest in, would fill a big need for them, Deion Henley, the linebacker out of Washington State. I love this kid, 6'1", 225. Athletic, really rangy, and plays like his hair's on fire the vast majority of the time. The floor on him is, I would say, a top 20 off-ball linebacker in the league. I think this is just one of those guys that you can pencil in as being a high-level player in this league for a long time. He plays so fast. To me, the only linebacker in this class that is better than him is Jack Campbell out of Iowa. He will go in the first round. The Raiders get almost as good a player with less investment here in the second round. On to number 70 in the third round. This is a guy I get a lot of disagreement on. I do not view him the same way a lot of pundits do. Keon White, defensive player out of Georgia Tech. If I hear one more person say he's going to stand up in the NFL, I'm going to scream. At 285 pounds, I just don't see it. I don't think he has the burst. I think he's too big. My spot for him is either as a pass-rushing defensive tackle or as an end in a 3-4. That's where I feel like he fits the best. There has been some good tape. Really, he is really athletic for his size. He's just super inconsistent. And I feel like in a draft class like this where there are a slew of safer players and there's a lot of players with the same grade, I could very easily see a player like Keon White being slid down the board. Now, I think with Chandler Jones and Max Crosby, he has a possibility to create a front four that is terrifying on obvious passing downs. You develop him as he goes along. Maybe he can do some things with standing up with the athleticism and the short area quickness. I don't see it right now, so I think he's going to fall down the board. I could be wrong. He could go in the second round. I can tell you definitively he will not go in the first. Second pick in the third round, number 100 overall, Byron Young. And now this is the Byron Young from Alabama, not the one from Tennessee. Really wish we would work on getting, could we possibly not have two guys from the same, with the same name from two SEC schools in the same class? I really like this kid as a developmental piece. Am I telling you there's a ton of high side? No. I think he comes in as a productive run stopper. Spent 4 years at Alabama. There was some pass rush, but he's definitely a better run defender than he is against the pass. 6'3", 294 pounds, really long arms. And I think he has a nice, safe floor to pair with Keon White, because now I feel like you've set up your front four with the linebacker behind him with Deion Henley that you're going to be multiple enough to defend practically anything. You got Christian Gonzalez as your number one corner. Yes, your first four picks are all on defense, but I feel like that's where your biggest need comes in. Moving on to the fourth round, Emil Ekiyor Jr., guard out of Alabama. I am so much higher on this kid than the industry is. He is the steady hand at guard. And I think pairing him with Dylan Parham from last year is a high-level way to get even better running the ball. This is somebody that Josh Jacobs will love. The thing you have to be aware of is that he is not crazy lateral, and his pass sets do leave something to be desired. So it could be a thing if he comes in, and I'm not going to say struggles against the pass. I could just see a path where you get 3-4 teams that have the big, space-eating, powerful 3-4 nose tackle, and they can get into the body on him, and he could struggle that to begin with. I think there is a ton of upside with him. I really like the tape, and I think he's a day one starter for the Las Vegas Raiders. Continuing with the offensive line at number 141, Trevor Reed out of Louisville, 6'5", 297 pounds. This kid's more of a project. Started at Georgia Military College, high school, 4-star recruit, came to Louisville. I don't know that I ever saw the athletic freak that he has been made out to be. I see a really solid frame that needs to be coached up. I said this a long time ago with receivers coming out of USC. I'm not so sure he got high-level coaching. I'm not sure he's not going to be a markedly better pro than he was in college. Developmental piece, I think he's your swing tackle to start, ultimately your replacement at right tackle 2 or 3 years down the line. Now, I've addressed the hog mollies. Now I'm moving on to a weapon. This is at pick number 144, just a few down from Trevor Reed. Marvin Mims, wide receiver out of Oklahoma. Really shifty, really fast, long strider, big, heavy hitter in the deep game. The thing that bothers me is that he was really good 19 and a half yards per catch. So he really hurt you when he was a factor. The problem is that he wasn't a factor way too often, and it seemed like it was when he was going up against higher level competition. He could eviscerate a bad corner. You don't see many of those in the NFL. Now, he's a very good punt returner, and I think that's how he comes in immediately and really impacts your team. He will be phenomenal in the special teams game because he is really good with the ball in his hands. I think you're going to have to manufacture touches for him early in his career and hope that you can round him into form as time goes on. But he would be a solid risk to take at number 144 in the 5th round. Final pick in the 5th for the Las Vegas Raiders, Eli Ricks, cornerback out of Alabama. Oh, how the mighty fall. This is a kid that going into this year we thought for sure was going to be a top 10 pick in this draft. Went to Alabama and flat out it wasn't good. The size, the length, all of the raw is there. I haven't seen enough of him, and when I have seen him, the good is really good, the bad is really bad. This is way more of a project than people want to make it out to be. Some people will see his name here in the 5th round and be shocked that he has fallen this far. He has. If you're willing to coach him up, there is a possibility that 3 years down the line, Christian Gonzalez and Eli Ricks are your starting corners for the long haul. There's also a possibility that 3 years from now, he's not in the league because the talent is there, no doubt. There is just something missing with him, and my hope would be that Patrick Graham could get it out of him. Added Jimmy Garoppolo in the offseason, 6th round, 204, Aiden O'Connell, quarterback out of Purdue. This is your long-term backup. I know you brought in Brian Hoyer. I get it. If you're going to stick with Josh McDaniels for the long term, you're going to need a backup quarterback to Jimmy Garoppolo. You'll have Hoyer for a year. I really like that O'Connell comes from a pro-level system. There's a lot of experience. I think he will come in right away and be able to compete as your 3. Hell, he might even be better than Brian Hoyer right now. I can't say that he's not definitively. When I watched the tape, the fact he didn't have really good receivers just killed him. He's very good in play action. The thing that gets him is that he is slow as hell. He does not have modern era mobility for a quarterback, and that's what's going to push him down the board. Now, I will say, after Hendon Hooker, I think this quarterback class goes to hell in a handbasket, and Aiden O'Connell might be the 6th best on the board. He's just going to fall. Would be a nice value here in the 6th round as a developmental long-term piece. Second pick in the 6th round, DJ Johnson, edge rusher out of Oregon. really experienced kid, older prospect, ran a 4.49 at the combine at 6'4", 260, and there's a lot to like about this kid. If we played NFL games in the lobby of hotel rooms, he'd be a first-round pick because he looks like Thor. The problem is that he's really tight. The technique is really not there, and he doesn't have the go-to move that I think he's going to win with in the NFL. This is the definition of a raw ball of clay that you can coach up at the NFL level, and if you get it right, you could have something on your hands. He kind of reminds me of Deion Jordan that came out of Oregon years ago. Deion didn't have the work ethic, and he washed out of the league in a few years. I don't necessarily think that's going to be the problem with DJ Johnson. You just have to get whatever it is out of him, and you're going to have to be really, really patient. 2 picks in the 7th round, and these are both guys that the Raiders have had in the building. First at 220, Trey Hawkins, cornerback, 6'3", 195-pound cornerback. Wasn't invited to the combine, then put on an absolute clinic at his pro day, running really fast, 4.39, 6.74 in the 3-cone, good vert, but he's raw. You watch him on tape, and the physical is good. He gets up in the body, can press, but when he gets beat, it's because the technique just lacks. You're going to have to teach him to rein in the physicality. A lot of people thought he was really going to rise up boards. I'm not so sure of that. I think he's going to be one of those guys that we're talking about a couple rounds in a row of who is finally going to take the risk on this kid, because the raw is spectacular, but in terms of the tape, it just doesn't show through enough. Final pick for the Raiders, 231 in the 7th round, Jalen Wayne, wide receiver out of South Alabama. If you're looking for production, this kid's really not going to give it to you. 4.51 in the 40, 6'2", 210. But there's enough that you can look at him because he was a very gadget player, played running back, receiver, and tight end at South Alabama. So you see that there is a nice raw ball of clay here with him, and the football instincts are really good. My problem is that physical limitations on him may never allow him to be more than a 5th receiver in the NFL. That's why you can get him in the late stages here in the 7th round. You're going to have to teach him to run a route because he really didn't do that at South Alabama, and you're going to have to narrow in what position he plays. Some teams view him as a tight end. Others view him as a receiver. I think he will get drafted, and it will be late as a project piece for the Las Vegas Raiders at 231. If you love these picks, if you hate these picks, feel free to throw that in the comments. I answer as many of those as I can. We have one more set of mock drafts. This will be my 7-round projection for how the draft goes, coming out on the channel this week as we prepare to be live for every pick of the 2023 NFL Draft live on YouTube. I am ESPN Draft Nerd Jeremy Green. Feel free to call me Floaster Dumbass in the comments. Enough people have done it. We will see you this Thursday for the NFL Draft.